Hello friends, welcome to the world of industrial safety management. Now we are going to have Discourse 2, which is part 2 of the 4 discourses, which is about awareness of safety. Here we are going to discuss about some important definitions in industrial safety. So basically, first try to understand what is safety. The dictionary meaning or simple definition of safety is being safe or freedom from danger or risk. So you are trying to make yourself safe. We are trying to free yourself from different dangers or the hazards or the risk which we come across. So it's a very simple definition having a lot of meaning. Now, to be safe, we have to create safe working conditions. All our actions should be safe. We have to identify the dangers or the hazards, and not only identify the hazards, but we should try to eliminate the hazards first, and if not possible, at least try to minimize them. So just by going through this paragraph, how it is difficult to manage safety. You must have come to know that the definition is very simple, but its implication or application is very large. Now, to understand safety better, we have to understand various definitions related to safety. The first one is occupational health. Now, what is health? In simple words, health is soundness of body or mind or both. So we have a body, we have a mind dwelling inside the body, and when it is considered that the human being is healthy, that his body is sound, his mind is sound, that both body and mind are sound. If body is sound, mind is not sound, or if the mind is sound but the body is not sound, it will not suffice the purpose. Both should be sound. And if there is a negation of soundness of body or soundness of mind, that is called as illness. Now, what is occupational health? That occupational health is concerned with the health of workers in its relation to his work and working environment. The people who are working in manufacturing industries of various types, they have exposure to different types of hazards while working and while they are in that work environment. Now, typical diseases, they are called as the occupational diseases, occur due to exposure to the environmental factors. That means the surrounding environment in which we are working, and those environmental factors are physical factors or chemical hazards, physical hazards, biological hazards, and so on. We will discuss about occupational health in very detail in the series of occupational health. Now, what is accident and injury? Accident is an unplanned event. Now, it is called as unplanned event because do we plan for an accident? No. No, it is an unplanned event which happens suddenly out of the blue, but which results in loss or damage to the property, or there may be an environmental harm on or off the site of the factory. That means, and it may be called as an incident which results in death or an injury. Now, injury is a physical harm or damage to the body like wounds, cuts, crushing, amputation, scars, burns, and so on. Now, what is near miss? Now, it is a typical incident. So, it is an incident which may be under slightly different circumstances would have resulted into an event leading to injury or loss or damage to the property. Now, just look at the picture. A big box, a heavy box has fallen down from the top, but as it has struck to the ground and that person was standing very nearby, just imagine by chance if that person was standing at the exact point where the box fallen, what would have happened? It might have resulted in head injury or maybe a death. So, such events are called as the near misses. Friends, try to understand that whenever a certain hazard is realized, either there will be an accident or there will be a near miss. We will try to understand about near miss in a separate discourse. Now, what is dangerous occurrence? An unplanned, unintended occurrence which does not necessarily cause any physical injury or death, but essentially cause property damage, or it cause interference with the production activity. That means your production activity is stopped for some time, or some part of your manufacturing activity, some section or some department is stopped because of that occurrence. The examples are the structure collapse, the collapse of the building or chimney, that is smokestack. There may be a fire at the site, there may be explosion at the site, there may be bursting of vessels, pressure vessels like boilers or any type of other pressure vessels. There may be collapse or overturning of a crane, derrick, etc. This definition is given in Factories Act 1948. You can visit Factories Act and learn about it. Now, what is hazard? A hazard can be termed as an existing situation, a situation or a condition anywhere but at workplace in particular. That means this condition, the hazardous condition, situation may be there outside the factory, somewhere at home also. But we particularly talk about the hazards at the workplace, which has a potential to cause an accident or damage to the property. If you look at the picture, the concept will be more clear. you can see that there are obstacles or materials lying on the shop floor or in the gangways. There are certain drums of the hazardous chemicals which are leaking, or there is a spill. There are electrical wires, loose wire lying on the floors, which may create a trip problem. Somebody is doing hot work, welding work near hazardous chemical drums or the flammables. Somebody is smoking near the flammables. So these are the typical examples of the various hazard or the unsafe conditions or the situations. So very important is that we must try to identify or know the prospective hazards. So the typical workplace hazards are the various chemicals which are being used. There may be fire or explosion. There may be noise beyond the level of 90 decibels or 80-85 decibels. You may be lifting or carrying manually various types of loads of various size and volume. You may be working at the height, because working at height has its own problems or hazards. You work on the various types of machinery. You work on the electrical installations. Then there are spills at the factory sites of the hazardous chemicals or the flammables. The other administrative types of hazards are that if you are non-compliant to the legal requirements, it can be considered as an hazard. And if you are having a bad management who are very irresponsible or don't have any seriousness about the safety, and if there is a lack of training, if there are faulty systems at the work, it can be also considered as hazards. Now, what are unsafe conditions? Unsafe conditions are those accident factors which are present due to defects in conditions, errors in the design, some faulty planning, or omission of essential safety requirements. For example, inadequate mechanical guarding. If your machines are not guarded properly, the workers may be exposed to the moving parts and there may be injury to hands or foot. There may be entanglement of the clothes into the moving parts. If the machine conditions are defective or they need the maintenance badly, so working on such types of machines is unsafe. If there is an unsafe design or construction of a machine or a building, if you are building multi-storied building but its foundation is not strong, it is weak, then there is a chance of a building collapse. If the construction of machine is not according to the safety norms, if the design of the machine is unsafe, then there may be that you are working on hazardous processes, on hazardous operations, hazardous machines, or different hazardous arrangement at the factory. There may be inadequate or incorrect light or illumination, which may also pose problem of accidents. There may be inadequate or incorrect ventilation, because of you will feel suffocated or choked. You are wearing unsafe dress or apparel. So you are using long clothes or you are having jewelry in your hand. So there is a problem of entanglement. There are chances. You may be exposed to different types of radiations, and There may be excessive noise or excessive heat at the workplace. So these are the typical examples of unsafe conditions. Now, what is the meaning of unsafe acts? From the picture you can very well understand what is the meaning of unsafe act. So unsafe acts are those behaviors which may lead to accidents. It means that you are working unsafely. You are not trying to observe or follow the standard operating procedures or the instructions given by the manufacturer of the machines or instructions given by your supervisors or the managers. You are devising your own way of working, which may be unsafe. You may be performing operations without authority. That means you don't know how to operate a crane or a forklift. You don't have authority to operate that, you don't have license to operate that, but still you try to operate the particular crane or the forklift, just for the examples. So you may create a problem, you may create or pose a danger, you may create the risk. Many people remove safety devices or alter their operations. There are many types of safety devices provided on the machine, like two-hand operations or the interlock arrangements to stop the machines when you open the guards. If you bypass the safety devices, if you alter their operations, then it is called as unsafe act. If you operate the machines on unsafe speed, see, every machine has got its limit or the range of the safe working. If you try to run a grinder beyond its given speed or prescribed speed or prescribed RPM, then there may be a chances of bursting of that grinder wheel. Use of unsafe or improper equipment. You use different types of equipment, you use different types of tools, manual tools and the power tools, but if they are not in proper conditions, if your screwdriver is not proper, if your spanner is not suitable, if your hand driven drill is giving shock, so that is unsafe. But still, if you insist on using those unsafe and improper equipment, it is called as an unsafe act. If you use the equipment unsafely, the equipment may be safe, but the way of your using it is unsafe. You may do the horseplay, like teasing the other workers, fighting with the other workers at the workshop or shop floor. It is an unsafe act. And very importantly, if you fail to use the mandatory PPE, because of failing to use the mandatory PPE, you are exposing yourself to the hazards. Now, these are the examples of day-to-day life. These are the pictures from the day-to-day life, that how people work unsafely without taking any caution and on very makeshift arrangements and so on. Now, these are the examples of unsafe behavior in the industry. You can see that the operator is standing on the machine part, which is unsafe. somebody is doing grinding operation without gloves and the goggle. There are materials lying on the floor and there is a loose wiring. So these are the examples, and you may find many examples, such examples from the industries. Now, what is risk? Is a very important definition. A risk is a combination of the consequences and probability that the harm from a particular hazard if realized. So try to understand that there may be a hazard, but it is not the case that every time the hazard is realized. There are certain chances or probability of realizing the hazard. That probability may be very low or may be high. And if the hazard is realized and if the accident takes place, there are consequences, and those consequences may be, low or high. So in other words, it is an expression of possible loss or a chance of a loss. It is expressed as probability of accident happening. So it is very important to understand the level of the risk. From the graph you can understand, as it is a product of probability and consequence, the risk increases when the probability increases, and the risk increases when the consequences increase. We will try to understand about the risk whenever we will deal with identification of hazard, risk assessment and risk management. So friends, through these different slides, we have tried to understand very important definitions which are used in industrial safety parlance very often. They are very important definitions. So thank you very much for watching this discourse. For further understanding, please resume viewing. Switch on to Discourse 3, where we'll try to understand the accidents, how it happens, and the causation of the accidents. Once again, thank you very much. Please try to like, share, comment and subscribe. Thank you very much.